When we talk about privacy and security, we mean here that any data accessed, used, or produced by AI needs to be meeting the privacy and security standards. Humanity concerns deal with the human side of AI, where the AI must not create or take part in creating any harm to the humanity. The AI should be designed in a way which creates a larger social and environmental benefits. Why an environment? Because it takes a lot of energy to train and the AI models that you are now using recently. Reliability and safety is important. The models and the AI enablements need to be able to produce reliable results over time, and they need to be safe as well. Transparency and explainability deals with the concept of how transparent the AI is and can it be explained. Because right now, many of the models that we use from day to day, ChatGPT and the likes of it, Grok and so on, you don't have a transparency on them. And if you would want to explain it to someone, you can only explain it at high level. You cannot go deep down in details. But when it comes to organizations and implementations and connection with your corporate data, this is a very important point in terms of how transparent and
Welcome to Global Information Security Society for Professionals of Pakistan.
Assalamu alaikum. First of all, welcome to everybody for today's session. So today's our session is on artificial intelligence and ethical aspects. So our speaker today is Mr. Rahil Ahmed Chugtai. This will be the first time that he will be talking to Gispp audience. He actually has joined our group recently, and he was suggested by one of our senior members. So Mr. Rahil, welcome aboard, and let's please you can start your presentation.
Many thanks, Mr. Shehzad. My pleasure, and thank you for welcoming me on board this platform and giving the opportunity to present in front of you as well. So, can I start, or you would like to have a minute for more participation?
You can start.
Okay, good. Excellent. So today we'll be talking about AI and ethical aspects. This talk is designed by Anders Link, my fellow speaker, and myself, Rahil Ahmed. I delivered this talk in the recent conference that happened in Riyadh. So we are trying to take this opportunity to deliver this talk again to our larger audience in this group as well. Yeah, so this is Anders Ling. He's my colleague, plus 25 years experience he has in risk management and so on. So he was the main, speaker, but somehow he couldn't make it to the conference. So he passed on the opportunity to me, and that's how I got engaged in delivering this talk. I modified the content. So what you are going to see and hear now is the work of both Anders and myself. I'm Rahil Ahmed. A short introduction, around 22 years of experience in corporate governance, risk management, regulatory compliance, business continuity, crisis management, information security, and business process management. This is where my career have been, engaged in. I've been engaged with these disciplines in my career throughout in various positions. Rest you can you already I think have my LinkedIn profile, so you can connect and see more about what I've done there. So today's agenda is about ethics and fairness. What are the ethical dilemmas in AI, and what are the challenges around ethics, and what organizations should do, because many organizations right now are adopting AI. Some have already adopted, some are in the process, some are considering to adopt. So we will try to highlight some of the ethical concerns and some of the key, considerations that organizations should take while making such decisions. Then we'll have some round of QA towards the end of the session, and I hope I'll be able to answer your questions. So we will start with a story. This is about a case that was filed in United States. This is year 1981, and the defendant is Arne Johnson. He is guilty of first-degree manslaughter charges, and he killed his landlord. And this is the first time in the history of the United States in which the defense sought to prove innocence based on the claim of demonic possession and denial of personal responsibility for the crime. So the defense said that he didn't do the crime, the devil made him do it. And this is a very famous case. You can Google about it as well. Why I'm trying to, there have been some movies, by the way, made on this case as well, but what it has to do with our topic in AI and ethics, this we will shortly see towards the end, that why I gave you this initial brief. So this is interesting that, can someone, deny the charges and make a claim that some kind of an evil force made him do the crime, not him personally. So we'll connect to this case later. Now, before going into further details of AI and ethics, we must understand, when we talk about fairness, what does that mean? So fairness, is a broader concept. It is mainly to eliminate bias, discrimination, or stigmatization of individuals in communities or groups in the way systems are designed in terms of data development, deployment, and the use of AI systems. That's how Sadaya defines it. We also have a similar, view from Google AI and DeepMind, where they recognize that distinguishing fair from unfair biases is not always simple. And it differs from cultures and societies, and we have to seek to avoid any unjust impacts on people, particularly those who are related to sensitive characteristics based on their race, ethnicity, gender, income, sexual orientation, and ability, and political and religious beliefs. Similarly, IBM talks about it in the way that properly calibrated AI systems, if we can design them, it may help in fairer choices, countering human biases, promoting inclusivity, and it refers to the equitable treatment of individuals or groups of individuals by an AI system. So these are some of the fairness concepts that comes from different disciplines. We just have to understand them before we go further in the details. Now, ethics, when we talk about ethics, ethics are derived from our moral values and the way we believe in things. It's a sense of principles that tell us what is right and what is wrong. And our main principles include fairness, inclusion, transparency, accountability, protection, and understandableness. And also, when we are talking about AI systems which generate behaviors, we need to understand to what extent these behaviors are ethical and to what extent they are aligned with these fairness principles. Now, when we go further in details, when an organization has to consider AI adoption and a way to see how they are going to pursue their strategy on AI, there are several ethical principles around that they need to consider or take reference from. We have ethical guidelines published by Meta AWS, UNESCO as well, and also Sadaya. So for the purpose of this talk, I will try to focus more on Sadaya's guidelines, which talks about again fairness, privacy and security, humanity, social and environmental benefits, reliability and safety, transparency and explainability, and also accountability and responsibility. When we talk about privacy and security, we mean here that any data accessed, used, or produced by AI needs to be meeting the privacy and security standards. Humanity concerns deal with the human side of AI, where the AI must not create or take part in creating any harm to the humanity. The AI should be designed in a way which creates a larger social and environmental benefits. Why an environment? Because it takes a lot of energy to train and the AI models that you are now using recently. Reliability and safety is important. The models and the AI enablements need to be able to produce reliable results over time, and they need to be safe as well. Transparency and explainability deals with the concept of how transparent the AI is and can it be explained. Because right now, many of the models that we use from day to day, ChatGPT and the likes of it, Grok and so on, you don't have a transparency on them. And if you would want to explain it to someone, you can only explain it at high level. You cannot go deep down in details. But when it comes to organizations and implementations and connection with your corporate data, this is a very important point in terms of how transparent and explainable is the AI that you are using, because only then we can detect if something goes wrong and we can take actions. Accountability and responsibility is also a very key pillar which deals with who makes the decisions, who is accountable for the correct or incorrect use of AI, who has the responsibility over such implementations and uses. What is the user's responsibility? What is the responsibility in terms of different departments such as IT, legal, and your strategy and so on. So moving on, in any AI implementation, it is important to look into these principles and adopt them in organizations so that we can have meaningful and protected AI use cases. Now, when we talk about AI dilemmas, one of the dilemma is bias. So we as humans have generated a lot of data which has been used in the training of these different AI models. And because we are biased, the data generated by us is also inheriting this bias from us. Now you can try this yourself. Just Google, schoolgirl, and you will see different kind of images. Some of them are improper images, even having sexual orientation, and you would not, try to be expecting that this is what you would see when you just Google, a schoolgirl. Now, why is this happening? This is because the data used in the AI is generated by humans, and that's how AI has understood a typical schoolgirl looks like this, which is contrary to the truth. Now, if you try this with a schoolboy, you will just get very standardized, typical images on how a schoolboy should look like. So this is, a very high degree of bias in just a very simple example, because this is how the AI models behave. So what we feed in goes to the learning and training data and then comes out as outcomes. So when we are talking about organizational skills, we should have mechanisms to detect and eliminate these biases as much as possible. Another adverse impact or AI dilemma is the ESG, because now many organizations have their ESG initiatives and ESG reporting, especially the listed companies have to do it. So when we talk about AI deployments and AI systems, they consume a lot of energy. For example, when OpenAI trained its LLM, the large language model, and GPT-3, that work produced the equivalent of around 500 tons of carbon dioxide. Now, what does 1 ton of CO2 looks like? If you see on the right, it looks like a large, ball of 1 ton of CO2, and with around 10 meters height, and it's larger than a double-decker bus that you commonly see moving around in UK and other countries, this red thing. And comparing to a human, this is the size of 1 ton of CO2. So when large and large models of AI are going to be produced and used, they would have also ESG considerations for the organizations who are using and adopting these models in their carbon reporting. Next is the accuracy. Accuracy is questionable when we talk about generative AI, because the responses generated to your queries will not be always facts but opinions, which will caused by the biases in the underlying data. For instance, if the data is incorrect or has biases, no matter how good we are in our prompts and in our extraction, the results related will not be accurate. And there are many examples of that. For instance, Amazon example is here. So Amazon decided to shut down their experimental AI algorithm which was part of a recruitment tool after discovering that it was discriminating against women. How this happened, they initially, a few years back, created a tool to look for the web sources and spot potential candidates for jobs like software engineers and rating them from 1 to 5 stars. But in the process, the algorithm learned to systematically downgrade women's CVs because the algorithm noticed that male candidates have been more successful in getting these technical jobs, and hence it started prioritizing male candidates over female candidates. So this was discovered years later. So biases are not, easy to detect. It needs to have a continued vigilance and a logical approach to ensure that we are able to detect any such biases and report them. And sometimes it may take years, like in Amazon case, because they believed the model would be working fine, but it didn't. And this hidden bias was, influencing the outcomes generated by the algorithm. So similarly, in the AI system's life cycle, we need to be vigilant that what is the purpose and scope of that system, and through the design, development, test, and implementation phases, we need to make sure that all members involved have the same understanding of the ethical principles around. Only then you are likely to have better and more aligned outcomes. Now, another important thing is the trustworthiness. So we don't have an understanding around the metadata that may have been used to train the system, which may result in over reliance with little or no checking whether the outcome is appropriate and accurate, and then how come the outcome can be trusted. So imagine you using the AI tools and your child using the AI tools. So we as adults, sometimes when we query things, when we do prompts, we can understand that some of the outcome is not right. But if a child is doing it, the child is in an excitement, age and stage. So they are seeing that, wow, this is great. I got the answers, because they don't have the neither the background knowledge nor the experience around the actual real world data, and hence they normally believe any AI outcomes are correct. Similarly, if we take another case that would use in future, we may see AI robots as judge in courts of law. We may see AI doctors diagnosis, and which have been also proven more accurate than real doctors and lawyers with a higher degree of accuracy. Now the question is, would you trust yourself or myself, an AI robot or an AI doctor in a court of law or in a medical facility? So we don't know the answers of all of these questions at this stage, but we will face these situations to decide on them sooner than we expect. Then comes a very important aspect of intellectual property. Again, there's a story about this artist Rembrandt. In 2016, a Rembrandt painting, which is the next Rembrandt, it was designed by a computer, created by 3D printer, and 351 years after the painter's death. So what they did, you can also Google this. This is a Microsoft it's a project as well. So their team analyzed more than 500 paintings of this painter, and understood his choice of colors, styles, and the strokes and everything. And after that, they created a painting based on, if he was alive today, what kind of painting this artist would paint. Now, the question is, who owns the IP? Are those the people who designed the concept in the first place? Is it the company who provided the printers? Is it the company who did the algorithm? Is it the team behind that? So the IP is a challenging topic when we are talking about generative AI and its use cases. So, what are the key takeaways so far? We need to gain understanding of the principles and align them with our values and culture in the organization through proper training and awareness. We need to have necessary competencies to review and challenge, audit, and also verify compliance, which would be falling under the GRC capabilities. We also should be using available GRC tools and be skeptical and use always human judgment on such cases. Even if we look at the Gartner Emerging Risks reports of 2024, we see that a majority of the risks in the top 20, 4 out of the 20 in the top 10 list are related to AI, such as AI-assisted misinformation, AI-enhanced malicious attacks, AI intellectual property control, misaligned AI ambition, and employee misuse of AI. Now, you are all cybersecurity professionals, so this AI-enhanced malicious attacks would be the next, big thing in the cyberspace. Now, imagine what if a dark AI is creating such kind of malicious activities, and AI-powered attacks can be highly sophisticated, more damaging than the usual attacks, and they can propagate to a larger scale very quickly. So, would the teams today, how they capable they are to detect, to prevent, and to control such kind of activities and take actions promptly. And again, this would also require a very deep understanding of how these models work and how they behave in such situations. And it will also require investment in such capabilities in terms of the human capital and also similar technologies that can prevent and counter such attacks. Similarly, misinformation is also a very important aspect. Now you can have voiceovers which are difficult to detect. You can have AI agents similar to humans. You can have deep fakes. So misinformation is also going to be a very top concern moving on. And especially when we are talking about corporates, organizations would need to consider these risks and plan proper mitigations accordingly. We'll also discuss about employee misuse as well. So as you know, there are many tools out there. These are just some of the examples. You are already using many of them on a personal basis, most likely. But even let's say if we talk about Grammarly, so when we are using Grammarly, I think we all know that it is exposing the organization's data, that all the emails you read, you write, or the documents that you produce, the platform would have the access to that content. And hence this raises the privacy concerns as well. Now, all this is happening from the use or misuse of AI in a way that we know that majority of these tools are free. They don't require any amount to be paid, at least for their free versions. Also, bring your own devices is common in some of the organizations. In addition, they are web-based tools. They don't require installation of any software on your device. Even if you want to have a paid version of Adobe PDF editor, you would need some approvals from your IT. But if you just want to download some of the AI tools which will have access to personal and organizational data, you can just use them without anyone's permission. Also, many platforms now allow creation of language models and chatbots that you can use. Some people are using them to write their emails for them at the cost of organization data being exposed. Employees, why they use them? The intent is usually to achieve efficiencies, to be better in their jobs. They are used with the best intent, but while not always understanding the associated risks. What could be the threats around this space? That, as I said, that our internal data to generate outcomes which may lead to sensitive or confidential or personally identifiable information may be disclosed. We may not understand as common employees that what kind of underlying data is being exchanged, and also what kind of biased outcomes are there which are not meeting the principles we discussed. And blindly relying on the outcomes without skepticism will also lead to and may lead to infringement of IP and also further inaccuracies. Another important aspect is lack of data owners' consent on the use of AI tools, because many of the data that we use in the organization is owned by different stakeholders, and there are processing parties in between. So if I am using such tools, I may be doing this without their consent or even knowledge. Now, I did a poll there, and just let's see a show of hands that does your organization has a formal policy addressing the use of AI in the workplace. So we can do a show of hands if any of the participants attending they do have a policy in their organization on the use of AI. So as we don't see any activity, so it may mean that none of the organizations represented by the teams here have a formal policy of addressing the use of AI in the workplace. So you are going to need this. We all need such policies in organizations sooner to address that. Is it allowed to use Chat GPT at work? Is it allowed to use Grammarly? Is it allowed to use other generative AI tools? And if yes, in what context? For personal research, for organizational scenarios. So we need to define this in our policies in the organizations that up to what extent such usage is allowed and under what guidelines. Because employees are going to use this anyway, one way or the other. So it is better to have such policy in place. Now, if we look at some statistics, we can see the usage of unapproved and banned generative AI tools at work. So we have 61%, of employees who have used unapproved generative AI tools at work, according to the Salesforce survey in 2023. Similarly, 54%, of workplace generative AI users have used banned tools at work. So 61% used unapproved, and even 54% confess that they have used the banned tools at work. If we look at global statistics, so the usage is higher in India, being at 64%, while it's lowest in Netherlands, being at 43%. Similarly, does your organization provide training and awareness sessions educating users about the risk associated with using AI? A show of hands if anyone or their organization is doing that. Great. So we heard from Mr. Shahzad that they are blocking ChatGPT sites. Hamad said the organization is working to include Copilot as an official tool. Yes. So with the official tools, there might be policies needed around that. And in addition, we need to have training and awareness sessions as you do regularly cybersecurity awareness sessions. So we need to also include the AI risks and associated awareness in terms of educating the users about what kind of risks and exposures would come up while using the AI at workplace. And when we see the statistics, how does that say? So according to the same survey Salesforce did in November 2023, 69% of employees who use generative AI overall, they never received or completed any training, and 71% using generating AI ethically, and also 69% are using AI safely. However, they report that they haven't used or they never got any training around these disciplines. So this is new, and this is an opportunity for us to drive our organizations in the right direction, and create these opportunities for more training, awareness, policy development as well. And what does now GRC needs to do around this discipline? So, for instance, from governance perspective, there needs to be AI policies, guidelines, and procedures, including key roles and responsibilities and accountabilities, and also to monitor and oversight by doing specialized practices that we need to establish, and also metrics around that. In terms of risk management, we also need to look at our existing risk management frameworks, and we need to incorporate AI risk management framework practices in that. Also, training from all personnel, from board committees to end users on the ethical AI practices. From compliance perspective, what we need to do is to measure and report, determine compliance obligations, whether they be legal, regulatory, contractual, and also compliance commitments, internal policies, and voluntary adopted standards, and also establish practices and how to measure and report compliance to SADAYA's ethical guidelines and others applicable privacy standards and laws. And one of the organizations in UAE also appointed a chief AI officer. So this is a new designation that is coming in the market. And hence, AI governance and specialized AI tracking in GRC could be a good potential for cybersecurity professionals to look into when they are, looking for excelling in their careers. Now, what are the key takeaways so far? We need to provide guidance and directions on the acceptable use policy of around AI, encourage skepticism, quality assurance as well. We need to be very highly agile and proactive because AI is evolving very fast, and we always have to calibrate our moral compass. That is it ethical? Is it fair? And these questions need to be asked more than required when working with AI models and their outcomes. Now, if you would want to go further in this, there is different, recommended readings that you can take benefit from, such as Artificial Intelligence Risk Management Framework, published by NIST, NIST's Risk Management Framework Playbook as well, Sadaya's AI Ethics Principles, Auditing Artificial Intelligence from ISACA as well, and Responsible User Guide from Llama. Here also, if we go back in the history, we see year 1966. So we see our math teachers protesting against calculator use. And now you see that this is all history. We have calculators everywhere in our mobiles. And if you will tell this to the kids today, they would not believe that such an incident happened. So similarly, AI is going to be a norm of the day, and any kind of resistance will just fade away, and it will be heavily integrated in our lives and business applications. But it's important for us to see how it is going to be done and how we can, protect our organizations with the right tools and with the right principles and with the right ethics and knowledge around such domains. Now, before we end the session, I will ask, I'll give you a, story, and I'll like to hear your answers on that. So imagine there is a AI-driven car going on the road in a town, and suddenly it reaches, a corner where an old lady and a young child just steps on the road trying to cross the road. So a collision is unavoidable. So it is very highly likely that the car is going to hit one of the two persons who are going to cross the road. Now, this AI model needs to make a decision on who to hit. So, what do you think would be the outcome? Would it hit the old lady, or would it, you know, hit the child and save the old lady? You can drop in your answers in the chat. So Mr. Yasir says the old lady would be hit. Any other thoughts? That if this AI model has to make a choice, in your opinion, yeah, the brakes would be applied definitely, but even the brakes are going to be applied, one of them is more likely to hit. Interesting. Mr. Hamad is of the view that the child is going to be hit. Well, difficult, isn't it? So this is how the decisions come into the AI space, which are not easy to make. Now, the answer to this question is not very straightforward, and it is right, as this is a philosophical topic. But the child is most likely. Yes, Dr. Yasir has an input, and Abdul Rahim Khan has an input as well. And these issues are related to the morality as well, as Abdul Rahim mentioned. Now, what the AI model would do, a simple answer is that it would take a decision which will have more safety guarantee for the passenger inside the car. Because the AI model is designed to make sure that if you are the car owner or your family is in the car, they must be safe in all circumstances. So it would not look into who's crossing the road, but it would try to make a choice that guarantees passenger safety irrespective of who is going to be hit. So that is going to be the most likely outcome. Now, similarly, as I told you that there is a, a case has been filed in 80s in the US court on that the AI made me do it. Sorry, the devil made me do it. So moving on with the AI or adoption, can it be said that the AI made me do it, assuming a doctor doing diagnosis based on AI algorithms and it turns to be wrong, or a judge passing a wrong verdict, which turns to be incorrect in the future, and AI is put into the context. So can it be said again that the AI made me do it? So these are, some of the concerns and dilemmas around AI. And I thank you today for your time with us. I hope this discussion or the talk was interesting to you. I see some of the feedback in the chat as well. Mr. Dr. Yasser is sharing that there is no policy, but individually, some teacher guidelines include some restrictions on AI tool usage. Yes, the organizations are adopting some aspects on a partial or best effort basis, but soon it needs to be a standard, just as you have cybersecurity policies all around in the organizations. No one assumes that there would not be a policy on cybersecurity. Similarly, AI security and AI usage policies would be a common thing very soon, and it's up to us on how we drive these efforts. Another very important aspect, Mr. Hamad also highlighted how and can we control AI when we have AI in our phone, especially when Zoom meeting also offering AI assist. Yes, controlling is not, we can say, possible, because now we have AI everywhere. As you rightly said, in our phones, we are using it as an AI assistant in the meetings and so on. The important aspect is to know the risks involved and engaged, to know what we are getting into, what we are buying, what we are using, what are the risks. Can those risks be prevented? Because it's a choice. We can decide not to include AI assistant in our meetings if we want to. But if we are onboarding it, we should know the underlying risks, the underlying exposures, and if we are fine with the trade-off, it's good and to have. But let's say if we are not fine with the trade-off, then we need to either make a contrary decision or to use additional prevention to make sure that we don't get exposed more than required.